Well, it can only get better, right? We can hope.
That's right. That old Chinese proverb.
Yes, yes.
Good to meet you.
You too.
I call to order the meeting of the Rutherford County Regional Planning Commission for February the 23rd, 2026. We ask that everyone please stand at this time for our prayer and pledge allegiance led by our commission member, Mr. Jeff Phillips.
Bow with me, praise. Father, thank you for this day. God, thank you for the many blessings of life. God, we ask that you be with us this morning as we conduct the business of the county. May we put our personal feelings aside and do what is in the best interest of all of the citizens of Rutherford County. God, we ask that you be with those that are less fortunate than us, meet the needs in their lives, and also be with their families. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I appreciate all of you that are here this morning. I had to try something there with this gavel. Last week, I crushed this elbow, and it's beyond repair, they said, and I'm just having to let it go. So I haven't used the gavel until right then. I had to try it out to see if I still could do it. And I got to tell you, it really pains me to do so, to use the gavel. So today you've heard the statement say he's sort of like a sword-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. If I have to use this gavel, you better hope it's not on you. So we'll begin with our roll call, determination of quorum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jason Beavers. Lee Bogle. Amber Brown. Here. Trey Gooch.
Here. Here.
Shannon Hicks.
Here.
Mike Cush.
Present.
Charlotte P.
Here.
Jeff Phillips. Present. Michael Shirley.
Here.
Jim Thompson.
Here.
Pettis Reed.
Here.
As you've noticed, Gail is not here today. I am playing the part of Gail Johnson today. Hope she gets to feeling better. I kind of whipped this up last minute, so I didn't forget anybody, did I? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. So we have a determination of quorum. We do have a quorum. And next is approval of minutes. We do not have minutes available at this meeting. We will get those at the next meeting. Next item is public comment period.
We haven't had no one sign up for public comments, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you. I know that when I walked in, I was surprised to see a crowd. Well, not totally surprised, but I know we have a few things on our agenda. I know that it is difficult. Some people may not be familiar with the rules of signing up, and so I know people have made an effort to be here today to comment, and so I know it's a little it's not normal, but I would move to suspend the rules to allow for no more than an additional 15 minutes to allow people that may have missed the deadline to sign up for public comment today to be allowed 1 minute of time to address our commission to matters pertaining to agenda items.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We will do that then. So at this time, I will open it for public comment, and we'll do that at this time. So we'll ask that we'll start with the first person to come forward this time. Remember, you only have 1 minute. We'll be using the the meter up here. We've already got it set for 1 minute. So if you'll come forward, I believe we have an individual right over here. Please come forward. Let us have your name.
Harvey, I own family property that we've had for a couple of 100 years now. I've also had a front row seat to a whole lot of development in the city limits. My thoughts on this is development does not pay for itself, period. So I would like to see it stay at 1 acre per house minimum. I'd really like to see it larger than that, but that's pretty much where I'm at. The only way to kind of control the growth is to have those kind of minimums. I think it's Williamson County that they actually have a 5 acre minimum on their lots, which would suit me fine. But anyway, I'm opposed to the 1/2 acre per lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Kelly Hill, and I live in the South Haven neighborhood in Joshua James District. I'm actually here to speak regarding an amendment that I have spoken to my representative about related to the Plan Rutherford plan, and I wanted to share that with the Planning Commission since it didn't get included in the amendment for this round. I want to mention that through my studies of the Plan Rutherford plan, I've seen that affordable housing is one of the county's most significant needs, driven by the rapid population growth in this area. My neighbors in the South Haven area along the corridor of 840 and Almaville Road would like to ask you all to change the designation from activity zone to village zone, as it more accurately represents our current residential communities in that area.
Okay. Next.
My name is Susan Allen. I live on Nelson Lane in Murfreesboro. I am also speaking about Plan Rutherford, and one of the things that I have looked at on page 92 of the plan is, and I'll just read it quickly. While Plan Rutherford is described as a policy document, there's no more significant policy of the county than its budget. And part of planning for the future is being able to pay for it. Also on that page, it mentions that Rutherford County should consider conducting a fiscal impact analysis of its county growth policies related to land use and infrastructure. And I would like to change that to Rutherford County must consider conducting a fiscal impact analysis to do that, and I would encourage the planning department to put the expense for that fiscal impact analysis into this year's budget. Thank you.
Next. Good morning.
Commissioners, my name is Patrick Hale. I live in Christiana, Tennessee. I'm not in development. I'm not in finance. I'm not a realtor. And I'm starting to feel like I don't have a voice when it comes to Plan Rutherford. I'm a lifelong resident that expects and looks forward to reasonable, planned growth. And I think that's exactly what Plan Rutherford is. I've been in communication with dozens of county residents who feel the same way. If you look at the zones 1, 2, and 3, zone 1 allows for 3 to 5 homes per acre, and that's perfectly fine. It's more than what I would want, but we have to have a plan. The second band, the 1 home per acre, that's exactly where I would like for you to keep it. And please send it back to the commission for a vote as it stands right now. That's all I have for you right now, but thank you very much for your time, and hopefully you take that into consideration.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Hargett. I live at 1203 Batbriar in South Haven. I also want to implore the Commissioners to think about rezoning the South Haven zone that's currently considered to be in the activity zone, and to actually have it reconsidered to be in the village zone, because we think that is more accurate to the lifestyle that has been created there. And we think that that is very important, because we think it will impact home values and the quality of life that we enjoy right now currently in South Haven. So please reconsider that and have that come back as an amendment. Thank you.
Anyone else? Not seeing anyone, we will close the public comment period at this time. Let me explain something on these activity centers. They will not come up individually or separately before the Planning Commission as some people think, and we've tried to explain this prior. Plan Rutherford is the plan. It's the foundation for the beginning of what we're needing to do with a comprehensive plan. It's just the plan, the beginning. When we get into changing these activity centers or dealing with those situations, that one there is not the only one that's in the county. There are others. So they'll all be looked at and dealt with when we get into zoning and regulations that deal with the entire county. So we'll be looking at a lot of different things across the county, and that's when it'll get very detailed in everything we do. Plan Rutherford will just be the bottom of the cake. These other things will be everything else. They'll be the next layers and the icing when we get through with it. So that's what I'm trying to explain to you. We will be looking at those, because we've got those not only out in Laverne, we've got them as you come back towards Murfreesboro. They're out in Christiana. They're in different places. So I just want to make sure people understand that at the next meeting, we'll not take those up. We'll not take them real fast. In fact, zoning and regulations will take us some time to get that organized, to get that where it needs to go. So just to give you some information where we are, but we appreciate you coming forward today and telling us this thing. Any items withdrawn or deferred?
No, sir. Everything's on the agenda. What you have is accurate.
All right, we'll move then into our new business, starting with item A, waiver request. Allie Leonard at 264001 was submitted a waiver request to allow for the creation of a lot of less than 5 acres off a private easement. The property is located at 9459 Powell's Chapel Road. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, and good morning, everybody. This property was created back in the mid to late 1980s. It's provided access through a pre-existing access easement, as you can see on the screen and also on your agenda packets, which are on your iPads. Easement currently serves 3 properties, which is the maximum allowed by our current subdivision regulations. Applicant met with staff, and she asked about the possibility of further splitting the subject properties. You can see it's the one kind of outlined in the white there. It says proposed new lot. The property is owned by her grandmother. They'd like to create a lot for a new house so they can build that house to be closer to her grandmother. Again, the concept plan above us here and also on your iPads kind of shows you what they are proposing to do. However, as I stated earlier, the existing easement is maxed out, so we asked about the possibility, or we talked about the possibility of a separate access easement back to Powell's Chapel Road, and that's, you can see, is what they're proposing there. You can see that red line there, proposed access easement. It goes back to Powell's Chapel Road. So that would, in that sense, would allow the lot as it's created. Now, my understanding, they would still use the existing driveway, but they would have legal access back to Powell's Chapel Road in the event that access, for some reason, wasn't deemed to be usable. We did recommend that the applicant go this route before trying to do any survey work. What they're having to ask for is the fact that this is less than 5 acres on a private easement. You can see what they're looking at. The tract itself is about 5 acres. They'd be looking at about 1.99 acres for the new lot, leaving about 3 acres or so on the existing house, which you can see on that property. So that's the request. With that, I'm not sure if the applicant is present. They are. Okay, the applicants are here. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, or the applicants can answer questions as well.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Doug, did I hear you say that they're dedicating this new proposed access easement, but they're planning to still use the existing one?
That's my understanding, yes.
So what are we solving here by creating this new access easement if they're not even going to use it?
They are getting the legal access, or basically that's going to act as the dedicated easement back to the property. Now, if they are back to the Powell's Chapel Road, if they want to have some kind of an internal agreement that allows them to use the existing driveway, that's fine with us. But, and in the future, if they wanted to use that as a driveway, they certainly could. But yeah, that gives them, that meets the regulations, is by having that separate access easement back to the Powell's Chapel Road.
What was the original reason for the rule of no more than 3 houses on a private easement?
Well, actually, before that, I think there were more that were allowed. I don't know. I think it was 4 prior to when we changed our regulations. I think the reason we changed it was there's been a lot of discussion here about when does a private easement development come like this become more of a subdivision per se. We run into a lot of these situations where there may be those that are just using certain provisions in the code to get around having to do any larger improvements like building new roads, those kind of things. This is a family situation. I don't think that this is like that, but we have run into those. So I think the reason was just trying to limit the number of lots that could be on one of these without having to actually build or construct a road.
Correct.
We do make provision if somebody wants to have more on a private easement like that, they have to go through the plan development process and then build up the easement to a public road specification, even if it's a private road. We don't see that happen very often. And like I said, this situation just seems to be more of a family situation.
I thank you for that clarification. I just wanted to make sure we weren't violating the original intent of our own law, our own regulations here.
Right.
I still have concerns about that because it's a family unit today, and I get that. But if someone moves away or something happens and people start to sell these individual houses, then the next thing you know, from my experience on the road board, they decide to blacktop the gravel, and then they start thinking that it's a county road and calling us to make repairs to it.
Right.
So, and sometimes those properties transfer without the new buyer understanding that that blacktop road is a driveway, not a road.
Right. No, I mean, your point's well taken.
Okay. I don't know that I have necessarily any other questions or solutions other than they should build, if they're becoming their own family neighborhood, they should build a road and deed it over to the county like all other subdivision roads are done.
Mm.
Anyone else?
If you're looking for a motion, I'm going to make a motion we approve this with staff comments.
I have a motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved.
Okay. If you bear with me just a second here, as I'm taking this down. Jim, you made the motion, and Jason, that was you on the second? Okay, thank you. And that was a unanimous vote.
You're doing good, Doug.
Thanks.
Our secretary, that wasn't
Charlotte,
in
could
his
you help
resume
take
to do
minutes,
these things. All right, going into B, submitted for final plat approval. Number 1 is High Ship Acres, Resubdivision, 262008, 3 lots on 6.56 acres, zoned RM, located along High Ship Road and Folger Road. Casey Vaughn is the applicant, includes a waiver request for property of less than 5 acres off a private easement and a potential fire hydrant waiver. Mr. Demasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you stated, the applicant is proposing to subdivide properties at 125 and 126 Folger Court. You can see those 2 large tracts. Those are lots 23 and 24. What they are going to do is they are going to keep, obviously, the existing houses on the property, but use a lot of that extra area in the back to make a new lot. And you can see that on the subdivision plat of what that looks like. You can kind of see that they have enough soil area, existing pond, those kind of things back there. So that's going to be a larger lot. However, that is going to be off of a private easement. This is a little bit different than the one we just looked at. Now, this is the ultimate intent. About a year or so ago, I guess, or maybe 2 years ago, we looked at some property to the north, and there's an existing access easement there which tees into this property. This will be the last of the lots that will be allowed off this easement. You can see there is access through there. However, we had some discussions with the applicant's design engineer as well as the applicant about access to this property. The access is actually going to be through Folger Court. And we made it very clear that if that is the case, there needs to be some notation on the plat, which they have added, that this will be located off of Folger Court, because that would keep them within 1,000 feet of the existing fire hydrant, which is a little further toward High Ship Road, as I recall, in the corner of High Ship and Folger Court. So this is a little bit different situation. The owner actually has family members on those High Ship Acres tracks right to the north. And there is, like you said, or I said earlier, there's an access to that. However, this is going to be addressed and accessed off of Folger Court. That is going to be their main driveway access. So again, this is a little bit different than the last one that we just looked at. This one is going to actually have access off the Folger Court and will be addressed off of Folger Court. We had concerns that if it was going to have a Folger Court address but accessed off way further up in High Ship, that there'd be problems with emergency vehicles or delivery vehicles getting to that. But there has been notations to the plat to that effect. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure if the applicant is present on this. Yes, Mr. Huddleston's in the back. So.
Commissioners, questions, comments? Did you say the applicant was here? Or?
Mr. Bill Huddleston's here representing it.
There is no questions or comments. We'll ask that the applicant come forward. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Bill Huddleston with Huddleston Steel Engineering. Casey Vaughn, the applicant, had a cancer procedure this morning, so he couldn't be with us, but praying he's going to be okay. He lives on the property to the north. He's got one child that lives on the property to the north. He's got another child and her husband live on one of the lots to the north, and his mother lives on one of the lots that we're re-subdividing now. So, family situation, we're asking for approval for this final plat.
Any questions for Mr. Huddleston? I think you covered it, sir. Thank you. Commissioners?
Doug, you did get the fire hydrant, because I did see those comments. That has been taken care of.
Correct.
I know that you said the access point would be different on Folger now.
Right. If the access is off of Folger, then they shouldn't have any issue.
Okay. All right. Well, I will move for approval subject to staff comments.
Second.
I have the motion and a second by Commissioner Beavers. Further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved. Item 2, East Fork, Section 1, 26-2009, 67 lots on 50.97 acres, Zone PUD, located along Central Valley Road. It's an M1 Homes of Nashville is the applicant. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The preliminary plan for this development was approved by the Planning Commission back in July of 2022. This final plat does appear to be consistent with the approved master plan. This plat is going to create 58 residential lots, including, well, along with, I should say, step system lots, detention, common area lots. There are a couple of lots that are going to be identified for townhome units. Those will require a separate site plan submittal before any construction on those units can begin. Most of our comments have been addressed. Of course, we always recommend that any approval for plats and plans be done subject to staff comments. There are a few housekeeping items that still need to be addressed, but for the most part, this plat appears to be in good order. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Doug, didn't we talk about that bottom, at the bottom, that long straightaway? Doesn't it tie into another neighborhood? It then goes to 231?
Yes, that's correct. Two Forks Drive, I believe is what you're talking about. Yeah, that'll go through this development. And it's also attaches to the Irwin property to the south, but then to the crossings at Walter Hill over to the east as well. Now, there's not a direct connection to 231 Lebanon Pike. They'd have to, go bear to the north to do that, so it's not a direct connection.
Didn't we talk about adding roundabouts in those instead of four-way intersections because of that long straightaway?
I don't think that discussion was on this particular subdivision.
Was that the neighboring property one?
Okay. That was down there. Yeah,
it was the next
to the
one.
south,
Okay.
Correct.
I remembered this vaguely.
Right.
I remember it being connected and being really long.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, Doug, could you kind of go over those townhomes again? Are we approving those townhomes or just the residential lots?
Just the lots. The townhomes have to come back as a separate site plan submittal. So approving this, only thing you're approving is the lot configuration, not the townhome portion itself.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept or approve with staff comments.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Has been approved. Moving to item 3, David Lee Wolke subdivision is 26-2010, 2 lots on 5.07 acres, zoned RM, located along Weekly Lane. David Masterson is the applicant. Includes an off-site septic soil easement request. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The applicant is proposing to divide this tract into 2 separate lots. This might look familiar. A few years ago, there was actually a rezoning request on this property. Of course, that wasn't approved. So since then, I remember that there was a lot of discussion about this, and I don't think it was the applicant who actually, or this current applicant who made that application, but he ended up purchasing the property, as I recall. And he's basically now wanting to split a couple of lots off of this. However, what he wants to do is use septic soil to the north, because there's no real soil on this property. He wants to use soil to the north in order to accomplish what he's doing. As I understand this, this is also a family member situation. Campbell Road is a public road, so in that regard, I mean, they're not asking for anything off a private easement or anything like that. Really, they're just asking for the septic easements for the soil on that lot to the north. As you can see, right, there's 2 separate soil sites there. You can see there's one access easement back to lot 1 and one back to lot 2. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Most of our other comments have been addressed. This really is pretty much the only outstanding comment that's remaining. But with that, I believe the applicant was supposed to be present. Yes, he's right in the front row. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, questions for staff? Would would you like to speak with the applicant?
No need to speak with the applicant. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the staff comment.
Okay.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved. Moving to Section C, submitted for site plan approval. Item 1, Iglesia Una Esperanza Villa Church is 263-003. Excuse me if I've messed that up. But new construction of a 9,655 square foot church building on approximately 40.9 acres, zoned IN, located along Halls Hill Pike, and the church is the applicant. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This property was rezoned to institutional back in 2022 for the purposes of constructing a new religious facility. So what you're seeing here is the culmination of that. This plan does show the new building along with the proposed recreational field kind of to the, I guess, to the lower left there on the plat. Mike's kind of circling that area. You'll also see that there's a fairly significant area to the right of the proposed building where they might be, yeah, right there, where they could do some future expansion. Right now, this is what they're proposing is what you see, the 9,600 plus square foot building. There will be a subdivision plat that's required to combine these two tracts. But at the road, as you recall, this is actually a smaller piece of property than the larger tract. So just, yeah, Mike's kind of highlighting it right there. Church owns them both, so it's just a matter of combining them, just to kind of make it a cleaner type situation. We did send our comments out. Most of our comments have been addressed. A couple things I did want to point out. We've been in contact with Consolidated Utility about this. They're still working through the process of getting their will serve letter taken care of as far as fire flows and everything. That's something that they'll have to continue to work through before we'll allow any kind of building construction to occur. Also, when we receive these plans back, they're still working on the landscape plan. I'm okay with, if any approval is made, to make this subject to staff comments, making that one of the comments. There are some just issues they're going through. I believe that their landscape architect was either or both under the weather and had a child that was under the weather and was having some issues getting the plans back together. They understand what they have to do. They just weren't able to get those plans back. So what you're seeing here does not include the landscape plan. But with that, Mike, did you have additional comments regarding the engineering on the site?
Just some fine tuning of the stormwater network in relation to the water line. You can kind of see the water line coming down, backflow preventer and all the meters go here, but in their parking lot, they're proposing a bioretention underground stormwater management area, and they've got the water lines go underneath that. I just want to make sure that that's where they want it to go and not cause any future maintenance issues. And we need to get, CUD's blessing on that as well. But that's just coordination of those things and just some other minor housekeeping issues. But all in all, it's in decent shape.
Any questions for staff? Are the applicants here?
Is the applicant yes.
Would you like to speak with the applicants?
I'll move that we approve of staff comments.
Motion to approve. We had a second. It has been approved and a second. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved. Item 2, Sledge Road, Phase 2, 263-004, new construction of 3,000 square foot building on 42.9 acres, zone PUD, located along Sledge Road and Miller Road. Dorothy Groom is care of Jeff Moody is the applicant. Mr. DeMasi.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. This property was rezoned to planned development back at the Board of Commissioners August 14th, 2025 meeting. We looked at the site plan for Phase 1 back in November, which was approved. According to their approved pattern book, Phase 2 will consist of portable office building that will front along Miller Road and also will include employee and customer parking. The remaining area shall serve as an outdoor storage area, yard for tractor trailers, RVs, and boats. Phases 1 and 2 will not be connected as there is a stream and wetlands buffer between the two, so the only access they'll have will be onto Miller Road. You see they do have 2 access points proposed to Miller Road. We did send our comments to the design engineer. Most of those comments have been addressed. Mike, do you have anything outstanding on this one? No, okay. So as far as we're concerned, this plan does appear to be in good order. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Commissioners, questions for staff? Do I have a motion?
Chair, I'm sorry. Mike, go scroll back down one. Okay, stop right there. I'm confused. Is this just a proposal of one building on this site?
Yes,
So-
and it's right up in this top northeast corner for an office building, and then, most of it is equipment storage.
Is it tall vertically? Is it a? I guess
believe it's just like
I guess
a
my real
one-story.
question is, it sure looks like a whole lot of parking places drawn on the site plan.
That's the equipment storage area. So they're low boys,
Okay.
tractors, trailers, things like that.
Okay.
Trailer parking, yeah. in a few
Mike,
places.
can you pull up the satellite view of this particular property while you're doing that? So thank you. So Commissioner Cush, if just north of that is the exit 89, and there's a lot of truck activity there. So I assume that this was kind of similar to what we're seeing on the other side of the interstate too, with some the top right corner where they have the trailer parking. Right there, Mike, can you zoom in there? Is that what we're looking at? Something very similar to that right there?
I don't know if it's exactly like that. I think it's going to be kind of a combination of their personal use for their business, as well as some additional area for, rental of other equipment and things like that they've got on there, as I understand it.
All right, if the applicant's here, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for them to answer that question for us. And then is this a dustless surface in this area? Is this, because I know we have a lot of wetlands there, what are we doing for stormwater management too, would be my other question for the applicant.
I think they were doing more of like a tar chip kind of a surface. Yeah, tar chip type of drive, so yes, is it a dustless surface? It's not gravel. Yeah. And John Miner from SEC is present and can answer questions.
I ask that the representative of the applicant come forward.
Hey, John Miner with SEC. Yes, primarily it's going to be, as kind of Doug alluded to, a mix of tractor trailer, lowboy, that sort of thing, but it will also have RVs or boats. So it's not going to be like Love's or something where it's going to be maybe overnight. It's going to be short to long-term type storage. And then the entire area is tar and chip, with the exception of the normal car parking in front of the building.
Mr. Chair, it's the unusable storage area that's used for mulch equipment and trucks. Was that also?
Yeah, that's part of phase 1.
Yeah, phase 1, which is off of Miller Road, Sledge Road, Sledge Road, there off of Sledge Road. That was going to be the storage for the mulch area and everything. This part here, the phase 2, that was not going to be for the mulch storage.
And all of the, I just want to be clear, all of the water that's hitting this chip and tar is going to first go into one of the retention ponds before going into the streams and wetlands there?
Yes, we have 4 detention ponds that are basically all nestled up against the little tributaries that the water will be diverted into. So Doug has the northern 2 visible on the screen, and then there are 2 more further to the south. So on the screen there are the 2 kind of southern ones that are protecting the wetlands and the tributary there.
Other questions? Not seeing any. I think you may have covered it. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Commissioner?
I move we approve the staff comment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It has been approved. We'll move now to item D, which is the Plan Rutherford discussion and possibility and act on. And what we'll begin with, we've had Chairman Phil Dodd to request to speak to the planning commissioners, and we're going to ask that he come forward this time. He requested, he said 9 to 10 minutes. So we'll give you somewhere in there. I don't have a hook or anything, Chairman. So,
thank you.
So we'll let you speak.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman and Commission. I did request to spend a few minutes with you guys as the motioner at last month's commission meeting. I felt it appropriate that I speak to you directly. I would like to share some context and perspective of my actions last month. And also, I think it's appropriate today, to acknowledge to you guys some initiatives that the County Commission is undergoing that are directly and were inspired specifically by Plan Rutherford and your activities to date. I'll start with those initiatives. I attended a town hall meeting at MTSU back in 22 or 23, Doug, some years back. You guys had commissioned a focus group of citizens. Top 5 answers were on one of the boards that GNRC presented that night. Of those issues, as I recall, number 1 and number 2 were solid waste and traffic as citizens' concerns. That inspired me as a commissioner. The County Commission can participate in activities that will enhance Plan Rutherford and enhance the activities y'all did in your build-up to your vote in September. With that inspiration, number 1, the first thing I did was make a motion at Public Works to cease all communication with Republic Services regarding the expansion of the landfill. The second inspiration I had was to create I had 2 brainstorming sessions to address traffic, which is specific to your mission. Those 2 brainstorming groups had Mayor Carr, Mayor Reed of Smyrna. We had city and town managers. We had planning and engineering departments of Rutherford County. We had the county highway department. We had private engineers, civil engineers, and we had the county's traffic engineer, Neil Schaefer, and we had the director of MTAR at that meeting, at those 2 meetings. The outcomes of those 2 meetings I want to just touch on and then move into my motion previously. Number 1, the first outcome was every single planning director, traffic department, engineering department, highway department throughout the county meet quarterly now to share notes on what's going on in their municipality. And I think that's very beneficial to this planning commission as those groups can talk about neighboring activities. Number 2, outcome of that brainstorming was Mayor Carr has presented to property management a capital improvement plan. We've never had that in Rutherford County before. The capital improvement plan will help us forecast priorities. Number 1, new brick and mortar. Number 2, maintenance of existing buildings. And more important to this commission, roadway infrastructure is a line item in the capital improvement plan that's just beginning with the county commission. The third item that came out of the brainstorming sessions was listening to Doug DeMasi and Greg Brooks and Jared Bonner, TDOT engineer that now works for Mike, we intend to update the long-range traffic plan of Rutherford County. That's some 20 years old? Some 20 years old, which is a critical component as you guys implement Plan Rutherford. We want you to have a long-range traffic plan in hand. That traffic plan will help define traffic, will help prioritize improvements, and protect future easements that may derive from that plan. And most importantly, that plan will help develop funding strategies, which I think is the most critical part. Two other items that came out of the brainstorming sessions were Jared Bonner with engineering applied for a Safe Streets for All grant. It was received. That grant will help in traffic planning. Also, there are potential federal highway grants and TDOT grants that Mike and Doug's offices will be pursuing. The commission supports your participation agreements. I think Jim Thompson said when I witnessed a meeting where you talked about those agreements, Jim said this is a game changer. We've been waiting for this. I call it a paradigm shift. Participation agreements where developers contribute to improvements, not just on their property, but on the greater community as per traffic studies scoped by our traffic engineers. We approved the first one you submitted, and we will continue to support those coming up in the future. I do have to pause here. Chairman Craig Harris alerted the commission last month that Senate Bill 1045, House Bill 608, I believe, 608, could disrupt these participation agreements. I'm not sure of all the details, but there is a bill that could say these agreements aren't allowed. So I know Doug's office is monitoring that, Greg Brooks is monitoring, and others. The county commission is now monitoring that, and it's very likely we will oppose that bill. The last thing I want to mention about planning, I see Jason Laxton, CUD here. I don't see Middle Tennessee Electric. I just want to acknowledge one of the partners you have in planning are the two utility districts we have here. And I dare say that water treatment and sewer treatment are second to none in the state out of CUD. And also the electric provisions from Middle Tennessee Electric is likewise, I think, the best in the state. That brings me to the context of my actions at the commission last month. I've observed Plan Rutherford for 4 years. I've participated, I've watched, been to steering meetings, town halls, et cetera. And the entire time I did inquire, what is the process? I understood it to be planning commission, public hearing and vote, followed by full commission, public hearing and vote, followed by implementation. When the gavel fell on September 8th, 2025, and it was announced that Plan Rutherford was adopted, I realized I was wrong. My perception of how this would get implemented was incorrect. As a matter of fact, I think even Jason Beaver's last question before the vote was, does this go to, is it a motion for a positive or negative recommendation to the commission? So I didn't understand that it would be implemented that very night. I talked to Doug and Nick and Pettis the next day and confirmed that you do not have to send this to the full commission. You could choose to take no action. You could choose to send it to us for adoption or consideration, which you did. That allowed, the only arena I could speak to was at that moment, at that time, I could voice my opinion about Plan Rutherford. My opinion was to make a motion to amend, to send back here for your consideration. Again, you can take no action, you can send it back, et cetera. So within that context, the opportunity I had to speak to Plan Rutherford as a commissioner was January 22nd, 2026. My concern with Plan Rutherford and the perspective I had when I made the motion was, if Plan Rutherford is applied with a 1 acre minimum, if you're a farmer that wishes to sell their land and you wish to avoid an 18-month rezoning process that may not succeed to get to the closing table, you're going to default to 43,560 square feet per lot. If you're a buyer pursuing a farm and you wish to avoid an 18-month rezoning process at a cost of in excess of $100,000 that may not succeed, you're going to default to the 43,560 square foot lot. That's how I think Plan Rutherford will be applied. Now, my problem with that default size of 43,560 square feet, 1 acre, is the balancing act that we all have to toy with of affordability to the eventual home buyer and income to the farmer. That's the balancing act. Hence, I made a motion to go to the 2 lots per acre. I'm starting to wrap up, Chairman. Development costs are not based on number of acres. They're not based on the number of lots. We pencil in development costs by linear foot of road. Current development costs including grading, water, gas, communications, electricity, storm drainage, curbs, gravel, pavement, excluding land cost and upgraded amenities, are currently averaging $1,700 per linear foot of road. The practical lot design of a 43,560 square foot development, that's 1 acre. Each lot, 43,560 square feet. Will result in a generally speaking, a design of 200 foot of road frontage by 218 feet deep. That's 1 acre. With the numbers I just described, plus land cost, amenities, potential offsite traffic improvements, et cetera, the scenario I described will result in lot prices approaching a minimum of $250,000 to $350,000 each. When you had your vote in September, I pulled average home prices. September of 2024, average home price in Rutherford County for a single-family dwelling, $484,000. September 25, $532,370 is the average single-family dwelling in Rutherford County. A PC commissioner recently said that the Planning Commission can't fix affordability. I think it may have been Jim Thompson again. I referred to Jim a couple of times. The Planning Commission can't fix affordability. But I say with this motion, we can put a dent in it. In my last comment, I am not an advocate for the 56-foot wide by 120-foot lot that Planning Commission that has gotten so much gruff about. I think Commissioner Phillips has mentioned it. Can't put a fence in the backyard. Can't park cars, you can't fit cars in the front driveway, et cetera. I'm not a proponent of that. I'm not suggesting we go back to that. I do trust that this commission and the planning department led by Doug DeMasi can develop subregs to address my concern and still meet the intent of Plan Rutherford. And I think that we can apply the lessons we've learned with the HUD experience we've had over the last 10 or 20 years, Jeff. The lots kept getting smaller and smaller. And I'll conclude, Chairman, with the oversight of Consolidated Utility District and MTE. The small lots are gone. They'll never be back, of which I support. I think the smallest lot you'll see out of CUD is 65, maybe 75 feet in width, unless there's some special exception. So thank you for bearing with me, Chairman, and allowing me a chance to speak. I felt like I needed to speak to you guys directly. I am by nature not an agent of division. I'm by nature a person who wishes to have integrity in decisions that we make. And so I support Plan Rutherford. I look forward to y'all's debate. And thank you for the time, Chairman. Thanks.
Take a question?
If you, I'll defer to you.
No, it's up to you.
Yes, sir.
Use your microphone, please.
usually loud enough you can hear me. I spent 4 hours going through that meeting. Probably took me 7 to get through it, Phil, so you'll have to forgive me a little bit. At about the 3:34 mark, I wrote down where you had mentioned, I don't think I've ever seen a development where we had 3 houses on the acre. Matter of fact, I've never done one where I had 2 houses per acre. So if you've not seen it and you've not done it, there's got to be a reason you hadn't tried to do 2 houses per acre. So help me understand that comment.
I didn't understand all that fully. I did say I've never, in my development experience, I've never achieved a 3 units per acre. I've never achieved a 2 units per acre. Soil content with CUD specs, I keep looking at Jason Laxton. Soil content with CUD specs are becoming more stringent. A dosing rate has dropped and dropped. So the gallons per house that goes into certain marginal soils has reduced. And I don't know that we'll ever see a 2 unit per acre. 1.3 is about the best I've achieved. So, and even and that's the rural living. In the suburban living, I think you're 3 to 5 units per acre in suburban living, which follows the urban growth boundaries. You'll never get a 5. You'll never get a 3, I dare say, with lots up to 75 feet wide. So if there's any zoning that's going to be, under your plan and any future plan, any zoning that's going to be in excess of 2 units per acre is going to have to be annexed into the city with city sewer, or Smyrna or Murfreesboro. Does that was my perspective.
It does. It just caught me when it was said that I hadn't seen any 3 houses an acre, and I've not ever done any where I got 2 houses an acre. That struck me as saying, but we're supporting to put 2 houses an acre. The feedback that I'm getting, Phil, and I appreciate your willingness to work with the plan. The feedback is the folks are dealing with traffic. So when I heard the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan, that is a game changer. But it's got to be something hard and fast that works. I don't think the citizens are opposed to the plan as it is, or being it's a working document, going to 2 houses or 3 houses per acre where the infrastructure's at. What they've witnessed is 40 years of no capital improvements on these roads.
Yeah.
And I can remember my wife's grandfather speaking to me about having to work and build these roads. And for the farmers that didn't work, they had to pay to build these roads. So some of these same roads that we have in the county today have been improved with nothing more than asphalt over them, and we continue to add houses. I am pro-growth. I don't want to be sitting here and anybody thinking I'm anti-growth. That's not the feedback I'm getting either from the citizens. The CIP, if it gets in place, I hope everybody understands, this plan will work into whatever the accommodations, the infrastructure can handle. So I think we're both saying the same thing, but to just say we're going to put 2 houses per acre on what we've already seen as far as historical, and that's 0. I'm talking about 0, unless it's attached to a school. We've seen 0 county road improvements. The other question that come out for me to support the 1 house per acre in these areas, and I'm glad Jason's here, he's well aware that we just went out Highway 99 with a 12-inch line to tie into Eagleville. And we struggled getting the flow for a 5,000 square foot Dollar General coming off of that same line. They did multiple tests to reach and finally sign off on that. So not only do we have road infrastructure issues, we've got water infrastructure issues with one of the best water districts in the country. They can't keep up. So, man, I appreciate you, but I think we're really close to being able to navigate with some improvements to be able to say we can handle infrastructure closer to where, more growth where the infrastructure is going to be made. But right now, we're talking and we hadn't made any improvement. So that's, I'll be quiet then.
Correct. Despite advocating for a 2 units per acre baseline, I'm not trying to achieve 2. I'm trying to get away from that $250,000 lot. I'm trying to put a dent in affordability. That's my primary motive. We're not going to develop where topography is too steep. We're not going to develop where water flows don't meet 500 PSI and 20 gallons per minute, or 500 gallons per minute, 20 PSI, whatever that phrase is. I think that I've never done a subdivision without a turn lane. We do turn lanes. We deepen our backyard so we can have fences. And I think that you guys are tired of building on inadequate roads. So I think there are guardrails in place from utilities, topography, water, sewer, and the desires of this commission to avoid some of the roadways and whatnot that are
Mr. Chairman,
currently done.
I have a question for our speaker. Thanks for being here today, Commissioner Dodd. I know you and I have spoken about this several times, and I appreciate your willingness to enter into discussions about this. You just mentioned that guardrails are in place, and that this commission, I know I can speak for myself about building large-scale neighborhoods on insufficient roads. And Mike, I wonder, can you pull up the map that shows our character areas, please? One that comes to mind that we recently did was Kittrell Glen, and a similar program or a similar project was on Richland Richardson Road. I think I was told that you were involved in that project. Was that Richland Downs?
Richland Downs, we were involved.
I haven't researched this. You may not know off the top of your head, but do you know what kind of density you achieved in that neighborhood?
Under 1.5, somewhere in that.
Okay.
My reference earlier was.
So somewhere between our 1 and 2 acres, that we're talking about here.
Correct.
I represent that area on the road board as their elected voice on the road board, and the amount of calls that I've received about please stop these types of things, and it's every time we have one of these developments out in our green area, and that's what for people that are watching, we're talking about the green section here, where we've lowered that to our suggested 1 house per 1 acre. Commissioner Dodd, you mentioned affordability, and I have not heard a lot of people acknowledge that part of the compromise was that we allowed for increased density in our yellow area as a way to help with that affordability. It is not, as Commissioner Thompson said, that this body was not tasked with creating affordable housing. It was tasked with creating a land use plan. And for me personally, it's thinking about where does growth go? Where can we support it? On Richland Richardson Road, I pulled some statistics for crash data on that road, and I went back to 2020 where it was, this is just reportable wrecks, not all traffic accidents that maybe people went off the road, hit a mailbox, and kept on driving, but ones where the Sheriff's Department actually had to respond. And there is, in about 2023, we had 1 reportable accident. In 2024, there were 10. And I think a lot of that is if you look at these roads, the county doesn't own the land underneath the roads. We actually are on easements. And so we don't have the ability to go out and widen and take out curves and things. And that is the character of the roads in this green section, and the brown for that matter. But we don't own the land underneath the roads on which we would need to make improvements, nor do we have the money in the highway department budget to go out and purchase right-of-way to make needed improvements. You just mentioned that the county doesn't have a line item currently in their budget to acquire roads and rights-of-way to make improvements. I commend you for putting together a group and advocating for these types of capital improvements, but you mentioned road improvements were 3rd on the list. And so when this board talks about land improvements or land use, it is appropriate to me because the infrastructure isn't there in this green area to limit that to 1 house per acre, because it that's what the infrastructure in those areas allow. You said we're not going to develop on places that are too steep or don't have water flow. Water, I would agree with. The land topography, if there's soil, there's a way. So if they can find, I think with the advent of the step systems, we're seeing larger developments or larger densities where before it wouldn't have allowed, because you find 10 to 15 to 20 acres of good soil, and that allows you to funnel all of your wastewater to that area and develop land that would have been considered too rocky or too steep in the past. So I have some concerns that we just disagree fundamentally on this area. But I do think that this commission has been dealing with this for years and years and years. We've looked at the soils maps, we've looked at the road infrastructure, we've looked at where these things are, and we've listened to the people through all of these different public meetings and phone calls, and they are asking for this to the people that I have talked to that aren't involved in building and developing and selling homes. They've asked for the Plan Rutherford to stay the way it is.
Michael, let me just say something right in that point, what you said there. The green area is what we're talking about today. I'm in District 8. That's 100 square miles or more that I'm responsible for out there. A good portion of it is the green area. The people that I deal with out there, my constituents, I have very much heard from those same people that you're talking about right there. Now, when we're talking about soils, you're in my backyard. That's where my degree's at, soil science. In fact, when I got ready to leave MTSU, that's where I was going to go, until all of a sudden Farm Bureau talks to me and they wanted me to go somewhere else. But I know pretty much those soils, I know where those are and that sort of thing out there. And I know when you look at this green area, and when you take Rutherford County and you see what's left, there is a reason why this has developed. It was the easier area to develop, because that's where your more adequate soils are to build, where there's the land that's built there. But when you talk to the people out there, they understand some of this a little bit more, some of the things that are there. And what we had to decide as a planning commission and as a steering committee is, okay, we had to decide who do we listen to and where we go to, and we determined we listen to the people. And that's what a lot of this is based upon, is on the people, because they're the ones that showed up. They're the ones that come and said, this is what we're wanting, and this is where we go. Now, I've heard commissioners talk about that they have community meetings. My community meetings are on my front porch. They know where I live. That's the interesting part. But I think when we look at this and look at Plan Rutherford is a 20-year plan. And my concern is right now, if we make a change in it as we're talking about, all of a sudden, we've already made a major change in this plan right off the bat that we can't recover from it right up immediately. It's gone. And then all of a sudden, we're here, this is where we have to go. We've always said that Plan Rutherford is a living plan, a plan that can be changed as we go along to make it work with what we've got. I've looked at all the other plans around this county. Murfreesboro 2035, Murfreesboro Transportation 2040. You're talking about transportation. I don't know how it compares with what Rutherford County is going to want you to do. I do know where Murfreesboro 2040 goes. They happen to have a highway going through across one of my hay fields, and I'm 17 miles away trying to get it to 840. So there's a lot of these things that are out there that we all are responsible for, that it's going to take a lot from everybody involved. But what we're concerned with is right now is Plan Rutherford. What we have in item D right here is to discuss what has been sent to us from the full commission, and what it has been sent to us is the fact is to change from the higher end density going down to from 1 unit per acre to 2 units per acre. And that's where we'll have to go and discuss. But we appreciate you being here today, Phil, and we need to move on into what we're trying to do.
Can I ask one question?
Thank you.
Can I ask one question before we move on? Commissioner Dodd, did we ever get a response on this letter from Sean Henry that was given to the commission last meeting?
No, sir, I have not. You're referring to the letter that I read an excerpt from at the January 22nd meeting. At the 12th hour, I think you used the term 12th hour, we got a letter from an attorney cautioning us being the commission, on the ramification of adopting Plan Rutherford at the commission level. And I'll defer that to, by all means, y'all discuss that at your commission, but I'll defer any more comment on that until we get to the commission floor. I mean, that's not necessarily the topic today, but I hope that you as a planning commissioner contemplate that as y'all debate. It is a concern I have. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Mike, you had to grab the mic, or you did.
Mr. Chairman, may I take the wheel?
You may.
Thank you very much. I wanted to be able to look all y'all in the eyes, so and also those that are sitting in our audience. I joined the Planning Commission just about 16 months ago, but my involvement with Plan Rutherford started very, very early in the process when I learned about the community meetings. And I went to those community meetings, and with my kids, I kind of joke because my kids and I are in Plan Rutherford. My name's not still on Plan Rutherford as a commissioner, but my picture's in there with my kids when we were filling out the little drawings about what you want in different parts of the county. What is your vision as someone who lives in this county? And last night, I was driving back with my daughter, and I asked her, I said, Mahela, you've heard. She's listened to me take all these phone calls from constituents, from different people, and she's heard half of the conversation, sometimes the whole conversation when we are driving, because we're on speakerphone. And she's 15 years old now, freshman at Riverdale. And I asked her, I said, you know what? I was kind of frustrated with this whole thing, and I was like, just build it all. I said, you know what? I said, Mahela, what do you want? Because like so many people that we heard in public comment and things talk about wanting their kids to be able to live here. One of mine doesn't. He had to move away. He couldn't afford to live here. He now lives in Washington State. I asked Mahela, I said, what do you want? She goes, well, I want everybody to have a house. I said, well, me too. And she said, but I know what the problem is. And I said, oh, well, tell us. And she said, well, I think everybody wants their first house to be a big house. I said, oh, well, that's kind of interesting take on that situation. And she said, and I would love to have neighborhoods that have big parks as a part of them, and so that people could still have a home but still have a place to go and play and have green space and have place for wildlife and things like that. And I was impressed by her understanding of what's going on. I think my kids probably know more about Plan Rutherford than most voters in our county, because they hear about it, all the time. But it's not because that information wasn't out there for everyone. And I went back, like Commissioner Thompson, and watched all of our meetings. I listened to them as I was driving here recently and working around the house and the barn. And I replayed all of our workshops that we've had on the record. People can go to the county YouTube channel, and I would encourage people to do that. And I started just making notes on my phone. I watched the commission meeting and listened to commissioners that had questions, and that's fine. But what I found was that our commission, even in the past 16 months since I've been on the commission, we've answered most of those questions. We've talked about these things. The lawyer that sent a letter saying that he was going to sue, I heard our county attorney said, I can defend it. I can defend Plan Rutherford because of the language that we added in at our work session back last summer. We added in verbiage to allow for flexibility based on each individual piece of property. Commissioner McAdoo asked questions about, do we have definite lot sizes? Can we change them? The answer is yes and yes. Plan Rutherford, Mike, if you can go back to that map for me, please. Plan Rutherford does identify our character areas, and we have worked hard and compromised on some of our areas. And we have found something that I think works for these different character areas. Commissioner Johnson, who represents a city district, stated that this plan calls for higher density in the areas closer to the cities. Yes, it does, because that's where the infrastructure is in place that can support it. He went on and said that his constituents don't want that. I agree. I understand their concerns to have even more density inside our city limits, closer to our urban or suburban areas. I understand that. I share those concerns because traffic is a real deal. And I understand that. He was worried about affordability. I do not think that changing, from the research that I've done, what is affordable is up for debate. Depends on the size of your take-home pay as to what is affordable. But the difference that I've seen in lot prices between a house on a half an acre and a house on 1 acre is, for me, currently would be unaffordable. Like, I would be probably a house that would be much smaller than what would be built on half an acre or 1 acre. Another concern was about the farmers that own large tracts of land whose maybe their kids, maybe they don't have any descendants to pass it on to, and they're looking at that land as their retirement, their 401k. I went to Bob Park's auction website to look at past results of the past auctions of large tracts of land. I think they're doing just fine. In fact, the average here, even just last week, was over $100,000 an acre. I think it was closer to $160,000 per acre. So from what I could tell, and I may be wrong, I'm sure I will be corrected if I am, but it didn't look like they have been selling tracts less than 5 acres through their auctions. And a developer can go in and buy all those tracts and combine them and develop it, or so can a landowner if they want to go in and buy multiple tracts as well. On our July 28th meeting that we had, we talked about page 62, which is what's at your desk. Density can be changed based on the individual tract of land, and where we are going to analyze and compare and examine each tract of land on its own merits. And I understand that may be more of a burden for developers, but this is an option that they have. They can request to come before us and request higher densities. We have to determine what adequate infrastructure is. One of the arguments against Plan Rutherford is that it's vague, and I understand that. That's because Plan Rutherford is a vision. The regulations and the zoning comes later, and Commissioner Dodd and the other commissioners will, when it comes to rezoning, they are the final word in that, not us. This vision, Plan Rutherford is the vision by which they make those recommendations and determinations. And our constituents, the people that we have met with and taken phone calls and have participated in our community events, this is much more closely aligned with what they want, I believe. I have more notes that I could go on and on and on, but I will end with this. When one of our speakers that talked tonight was Patrick Hale, and he actually was the first person that alerted me to an opening on the Planning Commission. And I told him, I said, man, I don't think you have a chance, but you should definitely apply for it, because your name should be on the record as being interested in a position on the Planning Commission. And I called him back the next day, because he's like, and I said, I'll support you. And I called him back the next day and I said, I'm going to take my own advice And I'm also going to put my name forward because I really want to be on planning too. I don't think I stand a chance either. And Patrick said, well, I'll support you. So here I am today. And as we look at making decisions, when I met with the mayor to basically interview for this spot, I asked him, I said, well, I'm ready to go on Plan Rutherford. I've read it. I've participated in it. But I have some questions for you. Whose plan is it? Is Plan Rutherford your plan as the mayor? Is it the county commission's plan? I said, because y'all are only guaranteed at least another 3 years, and then the voters could vote you out. And then whose vision is it? Is it the planning commission's vision? Is it our plan? We're not guaranteed another reappointment. We're here. The commissioners have been voted in to represent their areas. The mayor has been voted in to represent his constituents. We've been appointed to carry out some sort of a vision. We were tasked with coming up with a land use plan, and I think that we've done that. I have heard from people in opposition to this plan. Most of their concerns are based not on facts, but fear or misinformation. And I refuse to govern or make decisions based out of fear, whether it's fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of being sued, or fear of not being reelected or reappointed. I am not going to let fear dictate my decisions tonight or today. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we send Plan Rutherford back to the County Commission with no changes for their consideration.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. It's open for further discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
thank you. One comment I want to make I would disagree with is the reference he made to the Bob Parks and the auctions and the 100,000 per acre. A farmer will get much more money than that if they can put more houses on that acre. That is a true fact. One thing in Plan Rutherford, there's some math in there that we all need to look into, which paints a picture that we need to chat about. Plan Rutherford says that there is going to be, by 2045, an increase in population of 550,000 people. And it also states that from 2010 to 2020, 657 people per month came to Rutherford County. 63% of those moved to the city, 37% of those moved to the unincorporated area. That's in Plan Rutherford. So if you do 550,000 people coming by 2045 and take 37% of that, that's 185,000 people coming to the unincorporated area. And divide that by 20 years, since it's really 19 years, but let's do round math, that's 9,250 people per year. So Doug, what do we figure is that how many people per house? 2.5, 2.3, something like that?
I mean, kind of a rule of thumb that we look at is around 2.5, roughly.
Okay.
You know, I don't have the census number right in front of me, but it roughly
say it is
that.
2.5. If you take 2.5 divided by 9,250 homes, people, that means in the unincorporated area, we have to build 3,700 homes per year to meet that challenge of the population growth. It's clearly defined, black and white, in Plan Rutherford. So where are we going to put those 3,700 homes? Well, we got 3 areas to pick. That's the conundrum. Trying to define or decide how many lots per acre would be beneficial for the inadequate roads, the inadequate soils, or put a cap on the rural areas when those same issues apply, but yet trying to look downfield for the population growth and figure out where to put 3,700 new homes a year. We put a caveat in text on the rural living about, hey, we'll look at it. One resident per 5 acres, 1 resident per unit acre. We'll look at it, Mr. Developer and Mr. Engineer. If you bring us a package and the soils and infrastructure will allow, we'll allow you to go bigger. And Phil talked a little bit about the 18 months that it takes to all that for the rezoning, and I've heard developers talk about, local developers talk about, well, that puts us in a disadvantage because a farmer comes to us and wants to sell the land, and we have to assume we can only do 1 acre, 1 house per acre. So that's the price we would offer that farmer based on the yield. Well, if they can yield twice that with 2 acres, that farmer's going to make a little more money. Where the local developers are concerned is the big national developers that we've seen a lot of. I live in a subdivision that was built by a national chain, and we've seen a lot more of them in the last 3 or 4 years. They have the pocketbooks to come in and buy those big pieces of land and bet on the come on a zoning change. And they have the ability to take a loss if the zoning doesn't get changed. And they don't do the research on the soils like a local developer would do. So I guess my question is, if we've got to do 3,700 homes a year, where are we going to put them? I've got to think that it's going to be pushing both those dark green areas. Mike, if you'll go back to the rural, yeah, it's going to push those darker green areas. If we've put it in text that we're going to allow you to do 2 or more, I'm going to suggest we go ahead and put it in the note that we will accept 2 or more in order to meet the capacity that Plan Rutherford's telling us we're going to have. So there's a motion out there. We can vote on that motion, but I would also make a motion that we change it to 2 per acre as a minimum if the soils allow and the roads allow. We may not, like Phil said, we may not ever get more than 2 per acre anywhere. But for our local development groups, for the fact that Plan Rutherford says people are coming, we got to prepare. I feel for the farmer who, I want them to make the most money they possibly can when they sell their lots or their tracts. And for them to be tied up with a restriction on just 1 acre, if they can set the tone, if they want to sell their land and only have 1 house per 5 acres, they can set that tone. They can make that happen. But if they're after money, I'm going to support them and say, let's change it to 2 acres per minimum, 2 lots per acre minimum instead of the 1.
I got a question. I know we got a motion and all that, but Mike, I would ask you, what about what you're saying is not already in the plan? Because they can already do that.
In the little text, we've added that covenant. But I think what the developers are concerned about is they would have, when they're dealing with the farmer to purchase the land, they can only tell that farmer, look, man, let's do round numbers. You've got 100 acres per the plan. I can only do by the time you put streets in there, I can only do 80 lots, right? And based on my yield, or based on that cost of that land and my expenses and the engineering fees and the utilities, the roads, this is going to wind up being $1.5 million home. So who's buying those $1.5 million homes? Who of these 3,700 homes that we have to build, how many people are going to be able to afford a $2 million house? So he's going to have to offer that farmer that what we have said as a minimum, he's going to have to offer that money, that price to that farmer based on that 80 lot yield. And then hope that in a year and a half when they go through zoning and come through it, that maybe he can get it up to a number more than 80, maybe it's 120. Maybe if he's got really good soils, maybe you get 160. But the farmer's not going to wait for that. So what I'm saying is, if he could yield 2 per acre, assuming the soils are there, assuming the roads are there, and he can yield 160 houses, that means that that farmer is going to make more money because his property is now more valuable because there's a better yield. So the developer and the farmer is going to reach an agreement quicker because now they don't have to go through the process. Now, if it doesn't yield 2 acres, farmers still made out pretty well. Developers got a little hit, but it's all betting on the come,
Well,
right?
And Mike, again, after playing and replaying and listening to this back and forth, I'm going to give you 2 different commissioners that fits these districts. Piercy says he had land. P said he had land. Both of them would benefit if they could do the 2 houses per acre, but they also conceded they would not do that based on what their neighbors' inputs was because of the roads and all that. So the message that's being heard loud and clear from the citizens is this is not a developer-needed plan. We're not developing a plan to accommodate a developer. Mm-hmm. The other piece I think is misconstrued a whole lot is the farmers. I chuckle at that. I got a fellow sitting up there at the podium right now that was in a situation he was able to acquire the land because it's in the family. And most of these farmers out here, they didn't run like I did and invest in a 401k for 40 years. It's been handed down, handed down, handed down. They know the sacrifice. They got families living there. And when they cash in, I get that they're going to make more money. But these farms that are out there, they also realize it's in these areas where the infrastructure is clearly not there. But if I'm looking to buy them, I'm going to say, oh, yeah, I can get you 2 houses per acre because of the assumption it'll be rubber stamped when it comes here because they're going to build all the infrastructure. Developers' fees are crazy. I feel for them to develop a subdivision. But what's left is getting now to their work or getting to Murfreesboro on the infrastructure, and we hadn't even hit on the schools. What a dysfunction that is. So,
Mr. Chair, I appreciate everyone. I am a farmer. I appreciate everybody's concern, but farmers are not in it for the money, or they wouldn't be farmers. They, most of them have to have a supplement income to be farming, to be farmers. There aren't many farmers left in Rutherford County. So I appreciate it, but the farmers I have talked to that I know personally, they have not spoken against Plan Rutherford. There's no farmers in the room today speaking against Plan Rutherford. So I appreciate the developers and the realtors concerned about the farmers' future, but believe me, they're not in it for the money.
You know, you mentioned me, Jim, but I have sat through these for years, and it's always you're going to mess with the farmer's 401K. That's gone, the farmer's 401K, because most of those farmers are already gone. The only ones that are selling those farms are the farmers' children that are left like that. And what I'm seeing in this green area, now what I'm seeing in this green area, they're being sold not for the type of development you're talking about there. They're being sold for 5, 10, 15 acre developments. Show you one out there on Versailles Road, the Justin Hale farm. It was sold. Everybody has a 5, 10, 15 acres. People come there from California, everywhere else. They have built some beautiful homes. That's what we're seeing going there. All the way across that area out there, that's what's being done. The other night, I was over here at Captain D's. I heard a young man come in. He was talking to a family over there, and they asked him, said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Florida." They said, "Why did you settle here from Florida?" He said, "I've come here to live and enjoy what y'all take advantage of." They said, "What's that?" He said, "You can leave this town right here in Murfreesboro and go just a little ways out here, and you got green fields. You got cows out in the middle of a field. You've got country roads where you can go out there and see something different rather than square houses placed out in the middle of a square field." And he said, "I come from Florida. I lived most of my life in Florida. And in Florida, I grew up where there were orange trees and groves and things like that. And I lived in a little town down there that was called Ocala." He said, "You can't find Ocala anymore." So I happened to run across this up here. And I've moved up here where I can see something different besides just house after house after house. And I sat there and I said, "Oh boy, if you wait around long enough," I don't know how long that's going to be, but there's not hardly a day goes by that I don't get a letter in the mail, somebody wanting to buy. And I'll just tell you this, it really burns me. The letter will start out saying, "I would like to purchase your vacant land." That's what they'll tell me. "I want to purchase your vacant land." And I thought, it's not vacant. I had a lady from here in Murfreesboro send me a handwritten letter. "I want to buy 5 or 10 acres of your vacant land that I drove by the other day out there." And I just called her. I said, "What are you talking about, the vacant land I have? That's all grown up out there." I said, "You mean my hayfield?" "Oh, is that what that is?" I said, "Yes." But we're farming right now around 70 acres there, and it's not for sale. It's not for sale. My grandfather come back from World War I, and he married my grandmother, and he started farming that farm. At the age of 97, he passed away living on that farm, and his whole thing of thinking was, "What are y'all going to do with this farm? What are you going to do with it?" I knew in the back of my mind what I was going to do with it, and I'm still there. Now, he died at 97, I'm 77 right now. And I just hope it can keep on going. I don't know. But that farm, and that old farm, has a lot of sinkholes, has a lot of ups and downs, but I know the soil. As I said earlier, I'm a soil scientist. I know that soil very well. But there's farms like that in all this green that's all the way out there, and those farmers that are still farming, I have no intention of wanting to sell right now. And when they do sell, they'll be satisfied with what they've got. Most of them are not planning on what is out there later on. So I understand, I get it. You know, what are we going to do about getting more houses? I don't know. But that was not our responsibility for this. Our responsibility was land use, and that's what we have presented.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. I know that there's a lot of discussion around this, and I just want to know, can the plan be amended? Like if we adopt this plan, if it goes through the commission and they successfully adopt, can it be amended?
Later on, yes, that's what we say. It's
And what will be our process to revisit this plan to make sure that dust does not accumulate on this plan?
The process would be similar to what we're currently going through. You know, there'd be the discussion of, hey, we need to look at an amendment. Maybe the county commission asks us to look at something. It could be any.
But it won't be anything
in
in stone to say every 6 months. Like there won't be, we don't have anything out.
You don't have to. Yeah, there's nothing legally that says you have to do that every so often. Now,
But it's
is it
at
a
our
good
discretion.
idea? Correct. There is a process to amend it. Now, that being said, maybe should there be some sort of like a periodic checkup, if you will, for lack of a better way to say it? Every year you take a look at what's going on, every couple years, something like that, just to get an idea, okay, there's things that we need to be looking at. Maybe there's been some road improvements, some utility infrastructure improvements, those kind of things that might open up some areas. Hey, this is an area where we said was a lower density. You know what? Maybe this is a little better for a higher density now. There is that ability and like I said, there's not a time frame on it. You know, this doesn't have to be in effect for 6 months or anything before you start looking at it to make amendments. So changes can be made as you go.
Okay, I do appreciate that because I am really struggling with the verbiage and understanding the benefit of adjusting it when it has the flexibility in place. It's almost like 6 in one and half a dozen in the other. So we're
right, and I would.
I keep hearing the same thing. Even if we change it, there's flexibility there. If we don't, there's still the flexibility to achieve what the developers are asking for.
Correct.
So I'm struggling with it, but I just also need to understand that if we keep it at the bare minimum, do we have the ability as we continue to grow to make those changes and amend it?
And the answer is that we do. And I would agree with you. Some of the language we put in here and the changes we made were of a direct result of the comments that were received from the development industry, quite frankly. This language that we have in here that we've referenced on numerous occasions tonight about the density range, and it says right on the page, recommended density. Density range is provided as a general guide. Resulting densities may be higher or lower depending on unique circumstances. Personally, I take that to mean as we start looking at, rezoning in the county, now again, this is not going to be something that happens tomorrow, but as we start looking at rezoning in the county, if we see an area kind of on that boundary between the county suburban and the rural living that has good infrastructure, it's got good roads, it's got good utilities, okay, maybe that can handle a higher density. That makes sense. You allow that, and I think that's consistent with the language we have in here. By changing this to up to 2 residential units per acre, I'm just afraid that you're going to look at it one of two ways. When there's a development, are we trying to react to something that we say, this area can't support it, developer, you need to prove to us that it can? Or is it a situation where we look at it and say, well, the plan says you can have it, we as the county have to prove that it can't before allowing a specific development? So personally, I'd rather be in the first boat, where if we think that there are situations and conditions on the ground where we look at something and someone brings it in and says, hey, we think that this can meet this, we can look at it and say, well, you know what, you're right. We agree with you. We think this is more appropriate for a higher density zoning. I'd rather be in that boat than I would be in saying, well, Mr. Developer, I know you're allowed to have this by right, but we don't think this is a good idea for these reasons.
Sure, but that is something that is still accessibility that I'm just thinking, as I am not a developer, so I have no idea what the steps are that they take as they're reviewing purchasing property. And if they go through a potential search of a property, they have the ability to speak to you all beforehand.
Correct.
Of
And we
even going
have-
into a bid process.
Right. We have pre-application meetings and meetings about property every week.
Okay.
About
I
things.
just wanted to understand. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, and, obviously a lot of this is due diligence. And I appreciate Commissioner Dodd's comments a little earlier. I think when he's saying rezoning process taking 8 months, he's talking about the entire development process. At least I'm assuming he is, because rezoning is only about a 2 to 3 month process. However, when you start looking at, the time it takes, maybe from the standpoint he's looking at it, from initial contact with a landowner, talking with the planning commission, getting plans through, adopted, whatnot, okay, that can be time consuming. I get that. The actual rezoning process is not that long, but there are other parts to it when you start looking at plat development, infrastructure requirements, plans that have to be submitted, construction drawings, those kind of things. That can take time. I'm assuming that's what he means when he says that. So.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I've tried to keep my mouth shut. I can't tell you how emotional this is for me. I was elected in 1990, well over 30 years ago. And my main goal during that election process was to develop a long-term land use plan for Rutherford County. And I've been working on it since 1990. Part of the process that we're going through right now, we contracted with experts, the Greater Nashville Authority, to guide us through this process. And they've worked with other counties and other municipalities, getting them through this process. I've been on this planning commission since 1990, and I've seen it develop into an expert authority that knows what they're doing, well-educated in the planning process. I've also tried to look at we've also tried to look at what we want to accomplish. And one of the goals was to look at the rural areas that are left. And can we preserve some of those so that we can actually look at where we've come from in decades past and where we are and where we're going. And part of that goal was to protect where we've been. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 months ago, a special interest group, when we had the first draft of Rutherford County, put out a full-page letter of talking points that they found or that they thought was problematic with Plan Rutherford. In July of last year, during one of our work sessions, this commission addressed every single solitary one of those talking points and adopted the plan to suit those needs, come up with a compromise. Part of that was even considering and talking about 2 units per acre. For those of you that have been on this planning commission for a long, long time, every single solitary development that was going on out in the unincorporated areas, we had people to come up and say, I moved out here 15 years ago to be in the country. We finally ended up telling those people, I don't think that exists anymore in Rutherford County. If we plan on accommodating people that are wanting to move here in the future, we're not honoring some of the goals that we set forth in Plan Rutherford. And as much as I love Mike Cush, I disagree with him as what he was pointing out in my mind, and I probably heard him wrong, but what I heard was, how are we going to accommodate these people? It's not my job to accommodate those people. what do we want Rutherford County to look like in the future? It's always been the goal of Plan Rutherford, not to accommodate uncontrolled growth or not to derail what growth should happen in Rutherford County, but to develop a plan that the people of Rutherford County, those that are residents of Rutherford County right now, want to see what Rutherford County looks like in the future. Do we want to see Rutherford County become Davidson County, because that is rapidly what it's becoming? The answer was an overwhelmingly no, we do not. And I don't know what else to do or what else to say. These areas that are rural, as it relates to the 2 acres per unit, when this came up, and we knew it would be objectionable to some special interest groups and would probably even put pressure on our county commission, we even adopted the language to take care of that, and it's written in Plan Rutherford. Any of those areas, those darker areas that you see up there, any one of them, you can apply for a planned unit development. If the infrastructure, if the utilities are there, it will be approved. So what they're asking for is already available to them. And for the life of them, every time we make an adjustment to it, there's something else. There's always something else. My career is coming to an end. And Plan Rutherford is important to me simply because I love Rutherford County and I want to see the character of Rutherford County preserved as much as humanly possible. This accomplishes some of that. If we don't want to have rural areas, let's do away with them. But what this does is actually gives us a tool to work into the future. And when that future begins to change, and Plan Rutherford needs to change, we as a commission and a county commission has the authority to do that. Once again, from an emotional perspective, I had some real problems the other night at the full county commission when the motion to send this back passed. And I did some soul searching, and I think that the county commissioners that made that decision to send it back were making a decision based upon what they thought was right. And I won't question that. But this planning commission, through many months and years of planning, listening to people, residents of the county, and trying to determine what they want. It's not perfect, and this is not what everybody wants, but this is the consensus of what people in Rutherford County want. And that's what I'm basing my decision on. What do people want? And how do they want this county to look like in the future? And I don't know what else to do, Mr. Chairman, other than to say, I think the motion to send this directly back to the county commission and say, we've looked at this for years and years, months and months and years, and this is the document that we've come up with. What you've asked for, we've already given you the autonomy to make an application for any type of planned unit out in these areas if the roads and the utilities are there. What else do you want? What else could you possibly want? This, in my mind, is an opportunity that we have. I think that the Planning Commission is the authority. The County Commission listens to risk management. They listen to the Highway Department. They listen to our Financial Department. They listen to those guys, and time after time, they agree with recommendations that are coming out of those authorities. I think it's about time that we sent this back to the County Commission as the authority for planning for the future and ask them to accommodate what we recommended. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll call for the vote.
Can there be more discussion?
Was there a second for the amendment?
Never heard a second.
No, for the amendment.
Well, and actually, I had a question. Was that an actual motion you were making, Mike? Or was it just a suggestion? when you were
It would be a
talking?
motion.
It was,
would be a
okay.
motion.
Thank you.
I'll second Mike's motion. I actually have had several farm owners call concerned about this. And actually, I think you all received an email from James Wright. And I guess my other concern is the letter from the Sean Henry letter. You know, I've went up against them when I was on municipal side, and I've actually used them on the private side. And I would like some clarification from our legal counsel on this letter.
Yeah, I can try to reach down in my brain here. It's been a little while since I looked at that letter when it came in. Happy to look at it here. I think I'll just echo some of the comments that I made at the County Commission meeting, that ultimately the language that's utilized in the plan document, it is flexible. It doesn't say that it can only be one residential unit per acre. So there's built-in discretion with the implementation of this plan. Now, yes, if the County Commission passes it, it does have the force of local legislation as opposed to a guidance document, but the local legislation itself has inherently discretionary and flexible language in it. So obviously, as the lawyer, I can't say that we won't get sued. The county gets sued all the time. I can say that based on my review of the plan document, I think that if we were to get sued in a scenario where the plan is not implemented correctly or is otherwise a discretionary decision is made that does follow the plan, and assuming that there's good expert proof that there isn't infrastructure and adequate utilities out there to sustain a proposed development by a developer, I would think that we have a meritorious defense on that. But obviously I can't say that the development community or the real estate community would not sue in a given scenario.
Okay, we have an amendment to the motion.
Mr. Chairman, when did we have that amendment? I'll call for the question.
That's true.
Was
Call
there a
for
second?
question. We had a second.
So I'll try to unpack a little bit. So Jeff Phillips did call for the question, and I think that was seconded by Commissioner Shirley, correct? Was it seconded by anybody?
No. The way that I followed, I made the motion from the well to send this back with no changes. Commissioner Pease seconded it. Then Commissioner Cush made the motion to amend, and then Commissioner Phillips called for questions. Then Commissioner Beavers seconded the amendment.
So at least procedurally, what I think should happen here is everybody done discussing their debates on this point, at least at this point in time? Is everybody finished?
On the amendment?
So, no, just on the amendment. So now you've got a second from Mr. Beavers on the amendment to Mr. Shirley's motion, which, yeah, because you made the original motion, right?
Oh, the amendment,
So
sure, yes.
his motion is to amend that to not, to go ahead and accept the county commission's proposed amendments to the plan. So I think you need to vote on that first.
Would that, I would say that would fundamentally change my motion, and then that would not apply to, that amendment would fundamentally change my motion, which is not allowed.
No, so your motion is to not accept the changes. And so he's just making a motion to strike that part of your motion out and to accept the changes.
Which I would argue is completely changing my motion, which by parliamentary procedure would not be allowed.
If I could just interject, Michael, when you made your motion, Charlotte, I believe you seconded it, correct? So that was the first motion. There was some discussion. Mike, you made your motion. Then there was the call for the question by Commissioner Phillips, and then Jason finally did the second, I guess, to Mike's motion for the amendment. That's how I had it written down here, at least. But yeah, the original motion was seconded by Charlotte. So I don't know if that changes anything. But,
It doesn't change anything. I think it's a proper amendment to be made and voted on.
Even though it fundamentally changes?
I disagree that it does fundamentally change. It's germane to the actual motion.
Okay.
And it strikes out your language and replaces it with Mike's.
Okay. Well, if I may make one then, since I made the original motion, we turned into discussing finances and making changes based on finances for landowners and purchasers of homes, which was not the original intent, as Commissioner Phillips pointed out. The original content of Plan Rutherford was a land use plan. And I think that we have a good land use plan here. And I would encourage all commissioners to vote no on this amendment. Thank you.
Let me quickly apologize if I didn't know that Commissioner Cush made a motion. I thought he was just making a statement. I didn't hear the motion. So
That went through several different directions, so.
My
Commissioner
call for the
Cush's
question
motion?
was inappropriate, and I apologize for that.
Thank you, sir.
yes, I have.
Read the motion of the amendment.
Well, I believe, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, your motion is to change the 1 unit per acre in the rural living area to 2 units per acre. Is that correct? That is correct. Okay. So does everybody know what the amendment is now? That's the amendment. That's not the original motion. The original motion was to keep everything the same. Mike made the motion to amend that to state, change it to 2 units per acre. And that's what the amendment is.
And I just want to remind, that was the will of the commission, voted 12-9 to send that back to this body for consideration.
Okay. You've heard
Chair.
what?
Before we vote, I have been on the commission for 10 years. I was involved from day one from Plan Rutherford. So, and like Jeff, Commissioner Phillips, I've been trying to stay quiet. But I feel what we have spent years of and had professional help putting together is a good land use plan. I think Murfreesboro is on the right track of handling the growth with building up. I'm very excited about the high-rise going on Broad Street. I think that's the way to go if all the people come as they predict, which is just a prediction. And building where there is infrastructure or where the infrastructure is currently paid for is only good planning, and that's what we are here to do. If it's not there, and there's no chance, there was no chance for an impact fee to help in that, which I believe many interest groups worked against increasing the impact tax to help pay for infrastructure. The county will have to pay for it eventually, which would mean a property tax hike, which everyone's concerned about the farmer's income. A property tax hike will hurt the farmers. You've got to pay for the infrastructure somehow. We've already had an income tax increase. That would, a property tax increase. that will continue. There are cities around the states, Spring Hill, Murray County, Wilson County, have had moratoriums or partial moratoriums in building, for which we do not want that here in Rutherford County. You know, CUD is in the process of asking the Corps of Engineers for more water. Last time they asked for more water, it took 12 years for it to be approved. So it's not only roads, it's water, it's other infrastructure we have to take into consideration. And you've asked for the price of housing. Everyone's concerned about the price of housing, but interest rates, inflation, location, construction cost, demand, all play the part of the cost of housing. So I feel building where their infrastructure is in place or likely to be in place is good planning, and that's what we're here to do.
Thank you. Are you ready?
We'll find out. Where's the liver pea?
All right, we will vote on the amendment to the motion. And,
Okay.
Sir?
Yes, sir, I'll go. This is to the amendment. Jason Beavers? Yes. Amber Brown?
No.
Shannon Hicks?
Yes.
Mike Cush?
Yes.
Charlotte P?
No.
Jeff Phillips?
No.
Michael Shirley?
No.
Jim Thompson?
No.
Pettis Reed?
no.
That's 3 votes for, 6 against. Motion does not pass.
The amendment does not pass. Now we'll go back to the original motion.
The original motion, and this was by Michael Shirley, was to send it back to the Board of Commissioners with no changes to the language in the rural living area. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay. Go ahead.
Call the roll.
Okay. Jason Beavers? No. Amber Brown?
Yes.
Shannon Hicks?
No.
Mike Cush?
No.
Charlotte P?
Yes.
Jeff Phillips?
Yes.
Michael Shirley?
Yes.
Jim Thompson?
Yes.
Pettis Reed?
Yes.
That's 6 for, 3 against, so motion carries.
Motion does carry. Is there anything else, any other business?
I don't have any other reports.
Reports?
Mike, did you have anything? No.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more thing that I'd like, if one of the concerns that I heard a couple of times was that it's harder for, and this is something that I've seen even with zoning applications for complete rezoning, especially as it pertained to storage units, which are not allowed in commercial zoning, but are allowed by right in light industrial. Where I have requested or asked about PUDs, like why wasn't this brought forward as a PUD? And we've talked about in Plan Rutherford that the way for people to ask for increased density in our rural areas is to submit a PUD. I've spoken with some of the engineers that come before us regularly, as well as some developers, and they said, well, probably the reason is it does require, a PUD is more restricted, like this is what we're doing, this is where the buildings are going to go, this is exactly with the elevation of our retention ponds, and so there is a increase in cost of bringing a PUD to us versus a rezoning application. I mentioned this to Doug, and I think that there's an opportunity here for the commissioners that are still here as we talk about rezoning and creating new types of zones and areas, is to look at our PUD process to see if there's some sort of for lack of a better word, a PUD light, where someone like an applicant bringing a rezoning, they're asking for rezoning, but they're really just wanting to be able to build something that's not allowed in a particular zone, is that there's some sort of a PUD light where they can, in concept, without a large financial investment, bring something to us to get approved that then would go to the county commission for approval, and then they would know with confidence that they can invest in all of the engineered drawings to ask for something like a PUD, a final PUD. I think that one of the concerns that I heard about as we look at neighborhoods is that only the national builders with large pocketbooks that can afford to take a loss are going to submit PUDs to us for consideration. So maybe coming up with something so that our local developers that maybe don't have that size of financing available could still submit PUDs to us for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Shirley. If there's no other business, I'm going to try this. We are adjourned.